Hey y'all, Diablo 4 has been out for almost a week at the time of recording this, and I am creeping up on level 80. I've put probably an unhealthy amount of time into the game thus far, and because of that I have some pretty strong opinions about the game, so let's get into it. Over the course of this video, I'm going to try to go into every bit of Diablo 4 as it is right now in an attempt to give you the best review I can from the standpoint of someone who, quite frankly, isn't me. I, like many streamers, have put an unhealthy amount of time into this game already. I'm sure within a week or two you'll see waves of content creators who went deep at release start to drop off. Maybe me included, who knows. But this review isn't about that kind of playstyle. This one is for the moms and dads. And let me explain. I've been playing Diablo games and ARPGs in general since Diablo 1. I've dabbled in most modern ARPGs like PoE, Last Epoch, etc. It's a long list. Very few of them do what the Diablo franchise does when it comes to pulling the player in.
Oh my god.
Bruh. Yeah, man.
I gotta walk away for a second.
Yeah. Oh. I will admit openly that I tend to not care about the story in other ARPGs. And perhaps it's nostalgia to an extent, but it is difficult to deny the quality of cinematics, dialogue, and voice acting that Blizzard puts into making a game like this.
But now this once powerful order is a husk of what it was. And centuries ancient creators have returned to claim the hearts of humankind.
If you ask me what the story in Path of Exile is, I wouldn't know where to begin. Killing things and taking their loot is a story, right? With Diablo, the legacy that has been created around this game means a lot to the player base that has been in this thing since the beginning. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about marketing gimmicks. Megan Fox reading eulogies to dead D4 characters isn't story. A music video from Halsey, that's not it either. Those things are, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old, but they are a little much for me. I mean the storytelling and world-building experiences that Blizzard has built for the player base. If you haven't watched the 4-part Book of Lorath series on YouTube from Blizzard, please do yourself a favor and do so. You can pause this video, go find those, watch through all 4. They are wonderful. A lot of work went into creating these pieces to help build up the story for the player base. And it's that story, the tale of Sanctuary, Heaven, and Hell, that will keep the player invested. Story isn't the only piece of this ARPG puzzle, though. Combat in Diablo 4 is as Diablo as it can get. You pick a class, decide the build as you level, get an item that completely throws that build out of whack, and respec. You do that again and again. There isn't anything massively groundbreaking here, but they have done themselves some favors with variety. Druids have transformations, rogues have melee and ranged weapons and combo point building, barbarians carry 4 weapons, necromancers have a football team behind them, and sorceress goes burr, as you may have seen on stream. That being said, the class building has been a return to true ARPG form for what most players would hope for. Skill trees, paragon boards, crafting your build around 1 or 2 legendaries or uniques, and being able to change those things as you progress instead of being pigeonholed into one build forever. Now, you could still do that, but man, it is probably going to get boring as you push for level 100. Luckily, the loot diversity for initial release feels wide enough that plenty of different builds feel viable. A number of different legendary aspects will keep gameplay fresh, and the game at times even gives a sense of encouragement to change things up as you play, because the drops you might end up getting along your adventure. All those classes and setups work well in groups or while solo. At this point, I've done a majority of my gameplay solo. The game does, however, encourage group play. After all, Blizzard is treating this game almost like an MMO. You will see other players around the world doing side quests and events and more. You'll run into groups in the PvP zones, doing world bosses. The game does feel alive, and they reward you with bonus XP for your social efforts. If you're a parent with not a ton of free time, this game actually still is great for you. It's wonderful solo. If you have a large online social life with tons of buds to play with, this game also seems to be great for you. The icing on the cake for group play is the level scaling system. Before you yell at me for this one, I have a bone to pick with Blizzard regarding the system. We'll talk about the positives at first, okay? At literally any point in the game, you can go back and play with lower level friends who are not as progressed in the story and still get the same XP and gear potential you would from loot. The scaling system takes into account who the party lead is for quest progression, and every mob is scaled against what each individual player's character level is currently at. While I see a level 50 demon if I'm level 50, my friend might see a level 20 if they're level 20. This comes to a halt-ish once you cross the threshold into World Tier 3 and 4, as the level cap for 1 and 2 is 50, cap for 3 is 70, the cap for 4 is 100. While the system is elegant for playing together as a group, which is extremely important, it does take away from the power fantasy that some players enjoy. It makes every zone in the game feel relevant again, which means no assets from the dev side are going to go to waste in the game's level cap of 100. You'll play through literally every single zone the entire time you play the game, but at no point while playing within the level appropriate world tier will the player ever feel like a god. Your build can be immaculate, but everything will continue to put up a fight for a majority of that tier. It isn't until you're pushing your gear to its power limit for that tier where you start to feel like non-nightmare dungeon bad guys or pushovers. Whether that's an issue for you or not is up to you. But the utility of the scaling system, like one that Blizzard has implemented in D4, cannot be ignored. It truly does make grouping with your friends a seamless experience. Visually, and this was a drama sticking point for Diablo 3. A lot of people said it was a little too colorful. This game is the king of reds and browns. A massive detail improvement from the previous installment, 11 years later. Diablo 4 is incredibly appealing to the eye, and for fans of the series in general, this game hits the Diablo aesthetic on the nose. With DLSS in the mix now, a majority of modern hardware should be able to run this game without missing a beat. From desktop to laptop to Steam Deck, Diablo 4 is truly a visual masterpiece. Each effect feels magical, and while sometimes you might lose it all in a storm of baddies jumping on your head, when the dust has settled and you're collecting your loot, hopefully not dead, it's truly a joy to the eye. They could stand to pull the camera out a little bit. At times it does feel slightly cramped, but that honestly is one of the least of concerns for this game. At the end of the day, this iteration of Diablo really does feel like a return to solid form for Blizzard. The replay value is through the roof. There are countless side quests in each zone that will keep you entertained for hours. And do yourself a favor, don't skip those. Each little blue exclamation point is a potential chance for even more rich storytelling, both serious and silly, for the player to enjoy. There are quite literally hundreds of these things, 213 to be exact. And that's not even counting the main storyline. Beyond that, the endgame loot grind has strong enough diversity to keep most players engaged for what will end up being months, I would bet. Strongholds, Altars of Lilith, all those side quests, PvP, Hell Tides, Nightmare Dungeons, expanding the Paragon board, the average player will not run out of content in quite some time. Diablo 4, while it has its quality of life issues, please give us a gem bag, please, I'm begging you, seems to be Blizzard's best work in years. A game that even Mommy Lilith would be proud of.
Break the chains and discover who you were meant to be. Break the chains and be beautiful in sin.
Youth's cold dark.